From the moment Amara Williams stepped through the towering glass doors of the corporate headquarters, the gleaming modern structure mirrored the gleam of ambition in her eyes, yet beneath the polished surfaces and designer suits, a silent storm brewed, a storm of unspoken doubts and thinly veiled skepticism that clung to the air like static electricity. The long marble hallway seemed to stretch endlessly as she made her way toward the conference room where the quarterly innovation showcase was to be held, each step echoing softly but steadily with the quiet confidence that had carried her this far. Amara was no stranger to challenges. Growing up in a tough neighborhood where opportunities were scarce and the odds stacked high, she had learned early on that success demanded more than just talent. It required grit, vision, and the ability to rise when others tried to push you down. Now, as the first black woman ever appointed CEO of this top-tier music technology company, a position historically dominated by white men, she could feel the weight of countless eyes on her, the invisible chains of expectation, suspicion, and prejudice. Board members who had initially supported her appointment now sat with narrowed eyes and guarded expressions, whispering among themselves, questioning whether she truly had what it took to lead, wondering if her rise was a token gesture or if she was capable of steering this multi-million-dollar company through the cutthroat, ever-evolving world of music innovation. The air inside the sleek conference room was thick with the scent of expensive coffee and subtle perfume, but also with the unmistakable tension of veiled hostility. The polished mahogany table gleamed under the fluorescent lights as executives in tailored suits adjusted their ties and glanced sideways at Amara, some smiling with forced politeness, while others barely concealed their skepticism. She caught a few sideways glances that conveyed more than words ever could, the kind that said, "Is she really qualified?" and "How long before she cracks?" Despite this, Amara's posture was poised, her head held high, eyes sharp and clear. She was no stranger to being underestimated, and she carried with her not just the burden of expectation, but the determination to shatter every preconceived notion. When the time came for the innovation showcase to begin, Amara took her place. At the head of the table, greeting her team and board members with a calm but commanding presence that reminded them why she had earned this seat. Yet just as the presentation was about to start, a ripple of amusement and disrespect swept the room. A smug executive, whose narrow smile spoke volumes of condescension, stepped forward, carrying a battered, out-of-tune piano, its once polished wood scarred and chipped, the keys yellowed and uneven. With a theatrical flourish, he handed the piano over to Amara, as if it were some kind of cruel prank, his voice dripping with mockery as he muttered, "Let's see how you handle this broken thing." The room erupted in quiet chuckles and barely contained laughter, the collective energy buzzing with a cruel delight in the attempt to unsettle her. Amara's jaw clenched instinctively, a flicker of anger flashing in her eyes, but she swallowed the sting and took a deep, steadying breath. She knew this was more than just a joke. It was a test, a challenge to her authority, a subtle attempt to undermine her credibility in front of the very people whose respect she needed most. Everyone expected her to flinch, to dismiss the challenge, or to respond with frustration. But Amara's mind was already racing, turning over the insult and reshaping it into fuel for her fire. She saw beyond the broken keys and cracked wood, envisioning the possibilities that others couldn't see. To them, the piano was a symbol of failure and imperfection. To Amara, it was a metaphor for the company itself, flawed, underestimated, but brimming with untapped potential, waiting for the right hands to bring it back to life. As the murmurs and side glances swirled around her, Amara's heart beat steadily, her thoughts crystal clear. This broken piano wasn't going to define her or her leadership. Instead, it was an invitation to demonstrate resilience, creativity, and strength in the face of doubt. She remembered the countless nights she had spent in practice rooms, mastering the piano when she was a child, turning simple notes into powerful music, overcoming obstacles not unlike this moment. With a small, knowing smile, she accepted the challenge silently, her gaze locking with those who doubted her, sending an unspoken message. Watch closely, because what happens next will be unlike anything you expect. The room's atmosphere shifted, imperceptibly, curiosity replacing derision, anticipation edging out scorn. Amara knew this was her moment to seize the narrative, to rewrite expectations not with words, but with action. The broken piano wasn't a joke to her. It was an opportunity to prove that true leadership is about transformation, innovation, and unwavering confidence, even when the odds are stacked against you. In that charged silence before she would play, Amara's thoughts drifted to her journey, how she had defied the odds, fought through systemic barriers, and clawed her way up through sheer will and talent. She knew that tonight was more than a showcase of innovation. It was a moment that could either break her or make her legacy. And deep inside, she was ready. Ready to turn that broken instrument into a symphony that would echo far beyond the walls of this room, a powerful declaration that no mockery could diminish her light, no prejudice could cage her vision. The room, once filled with whispered doubts and guarded glances, now held its collective breath, waiting to see how the Black CEO would respond, not just to a broken piano, but to the challenge of leading in a world determined to test her every step. Instead of shrinking away or letting the weight of their mockery crush her spirit, Amara Williams took a deep breath and let a quiet, confident smile cross her lips, the kind of smile that spoke not of arrogance, but of unwavering resolve. The murmurs that rippled through the room, ranging from curious whispers to skeptical snickers, seemed to grow louder as she calmly announced, "I will play." The statement hung in the air, charged with disbelief and anticipation, stirring a mixture of amusement and doubt among the executives and board members who had so eagerly tried to undermine her. Some exchanged glances, their faces registering incredulity as if to say, "Is she serious? She's going to perform on that broken thing?" Yet Amara had already made up her mind. This was no longer just about a piano or a presentation. It was about reclaiming her authority, rewriting the narrative, and showing that true leadership transcended the petty games of those unwilling to see her worth. With deliberate grace, she took her seat on the worn piano bench, the chipped leather creaking softly beneath her, and placed her hands over the yellowed keys, each one slightly uneven, some sticking, others refusing to respond as expected. The first notes that emerged were discordant, awkward, clumsy, clangs and thuds that confirmed the instrument's state of disrepair and the validity of the mockery aimed her way. Yet Amara did not falter. Instead, she closed her eyes briefly, feeling the vibration beneath her fingers, attuning herself not to the piano's imperfections, but to the possibilities hidden within them. Slowly she began to weave a melody, tentative at first, but gradually growing in confidence and complexity. She transformed the brokenness into texture, the dissonance into rhythm, layering unexpected harmonies over the jarring sounds. Her music was no longer about flawless notes or classical perfection. It was a soulful improvisation, raw and innovative, a living metaphor for resilience and transformation. As the melody took shape, the room's atmosphere shifted imperceptibly. The skeptical smirks faded, replaced by widened eyes and furrowed brows, as those present found themselves drawn into the spell Amara was weaving. The fragmented sounds of the battered piano began to resonate with a surprising depth, evoking emotions that words could not capture: hope, defiance, and a fierce beauty born from struggle. She played with an intensity that seemed to channel every barrier she had ever faced, every doubter who had ever questioned her, every moment of doubt that had threatened to derail her journey. The piano sang under her touch, its brokenness becoming a canvas for creativity rather than a symbol of failure. The crowd fell silent, caught between disbelief and awe, as Amara's fingers danced over the keys with purpose and passion, coaxing, from the instrument, a melody that no one had anticipated, one that turned their mockery into a profound statement of strength and vision. The notes seemed to fill the room, wrapping around the walls and seeping into the minds of everyone present, creating a shared experience that transcended prejudice and expectations. The music wasn't just sound. It was a powerful narrative telling a story of transformation, courage, and the power to find beauty in imperfection. For those few minutes, the broken piano was no longer an object of scorn, but a symbol of possibility, And Amara was the masterful artist redefining its purpose. When the final note lingered in the air and slowly faded into silence, the room remained motionless, as if stunned into stillness by the unexpected performance. The executives who had once smirked now sat with expressions of humbled respect, some even blinking away disbelief, forced to confront the undeniable truth that Amara Williams was a leader unlike any they had known, a woman who could turn humiliation into triumph with nothing more than her skill, her vision, and her unshakable confidence. In that moment, the broken piano ceased to be a tool of mockery and became a symbol of the resilience and creativity that defined her leadership. Amara stood, her posture regal and unwavering, her eyes meeting those of the board members, challenging them to acknowledge her strength and the power of her innovation. She had not only played a melody, but had rewritten the story of what it meant to lead under pressure, demonstrating that even the most flawed instruments and organizations could be made to sing when met with courage and vision. The energy in the room had transformed from one of derision to quiet admiration, the silence now pregnant with new possibilities and respect. Behind her calm exterior, Amara felt a surge of vindication, not just for herself, but for every person who had ever been underestimated, dismissed, or held back by prejudice. This was only the beginning. The broken piano had been her challenge, but it would be her triumph, echoing far beyond this room and heralding a new era for the company and for her own legacy as a leader who could turn adversity into art. As the final lingering note faded into the stillness of the conference room, Amara Williams slowly rose from the battered piano bench, her posture poised and commanding, her presence suddenly filling the space in a way that left the stunned board members no room for doubt or dismissal. For in that moment, she wasn't just the CEO who had played a broken piano. She was the living embodiment of resilience, vision, and transformation. The very qualities that many had doubted, but none could now deny. Her gaze swept the room deliberately, locking eyes with each executive, each skeptic, each whisperer of doubt, her voice steady and unwavering as she spoke words that cut through the heavy silence like a blade. "This piano isn't broken," she declared, her tone resonant with conviction and clarity. "It's simply waiting to be understood and reimagined, just like this company and just like me." The room seemed to hold its breath, the weight of her statement settling over every person present, challenging deeply ingrained assumptions and forcing an uncomfortable reckoning. Those words, simple yet profound, pierced through the layers of prejudice and skepticism that had shrouded her leadership since the moment she was appointed CEO, laying bare the truth that imperfection is not failure, but potential, that what is overlooked or dismissed can be the source of unprecedented innovation and strength when met with insight and courage. Slowly, the expressions around the table began to change, doubt giving way to reflection, skepticism softening into admiration, guarded glances turning into nods of reluctant acknowledgement. The very executives who had sought to undermine her authority, who had laughed quietly behind her back and questioned her qualifications, now found themselves confronted by a leader whose brilliance transcended their narrow expectations. Amara was not there to fit into the existing mold of leadership, shaped by bias and tradition. She was there to redefine that mold, to shatter the broken system that had held the company back, and to build something new and stronger in its place. Her message was clear. True leadership requires more than maintaining the status quo. It demands vision, courage, and the ability to transform challenges into opportunities. The boardroom atmosphere shifted palpably from one of tense confrontation to one of cautious respect, as Amara's words echoed in their minds, unraveling long-held prejudices and opening their eyes to the potential they had ignored. The broken piano, once a symbol of mockery, had become a powerful metaphor for the company's own journey, a flawed but promising entity waiting to be revived and reimagined through innovative leadership. The transformation was not merely symbolic, but practical. From that day forward, the tone of board meetings changed. Discussions that were once laced with skepticism and subtle resistance became infused with collaboration and openness. Amara's leadership style, bold, inclusive, and visionary, began to reshape the company culture, inspiring her team to think beyond limitations and embrace creativity in problem-solving. Her ability to turn an act of derision into a defining moment of triumph became a rallying point, a story told and retold within the company's walls, reminding everyone that greatness often arises from adversity and that respect is earned not by conforming but by leading with authenticity and strength. For Amara personally, that moment marked a turning point. Not only had she silenced her critics, but she had also forged a path toward lasting change, proving that her identity, far from being a barrier, was a source of unique insight and power. She had not only played the piano, she had played their prejudices and emerged victorious, transforming an attempt at humiliation into a testament to resilience and innovation. The legacy she began that day would ripple outward, inspiring not just her company, but countless others watching from the sidelines, illustrating that leadership rooted in courage and vision could break down walls of bias and create new possibilities for all who dared to dream and defy expectations. In the quiet aftermath of her words, the room remained charged with a new energy, a collective sense that they were witnessing the birth of a different kind of leadership, one that was ready to confront challenges head-on, embrace imperfection as a catalyst for growth, and lead the company into a future defined not by limitations, but by limitless potential. And as Amara took her seat once more, the weight of their gazes now filled with respect rather than doubt, she knew this was only the beginning of a remarkable journey, one where she would continue to transform not just a broken piano or a faltering company, but the very definition of what it meant to lead with strength, grace, and unwavering conviction. Months passed since that unforgettable day when Amara Williams had taken a broken piano, once a symbol of mockery and doubt, and transformed it into a powerful statement of resilience and vision. And during that time, the atmosphere within the company shifted profoundly, almost imperceptibly at first, but then with a growing momentum that echoed through every department and project, as Amara's leadership style began to reshape not just boardroom dynamics, but the very culture of innovation itself. Where before, hesitation and guarded skepticism had held sway, now curiosity and bold creativity flourished, and under her guidance the company embarked on an ambitious new venture that drew inspiration directly from the improvised melody that had captivated and silenced the room, a venture to create a revolutionary line of musical instruments and technology that embraced imperfection rather than fought it, seeking to innovate by incorporating the raw, authentic sounds of a flawed instrument rather than polishing them, away into sterile uniformity. And this vision resonated deeply with the design and engineering teams, who poured their passion into crafting instruments that challenged traditional norms and pushed the boundaries of what music technology could be, blending analog warmth with digital precision and creating devices that encouraged experimentation, emotional expression, and a new kind of connection between musician and machine. As prototypes emerged, the excitement grew, fueled not just by the potential for commercial success, but by a shared belief that they were creating something meaningful, something that would redefine the way people experienced music. And when the product line was finally unveiled to the public, the response was nothing short of extraordinary. Critics and consumers alike were captivated by the instrument's unique sound and feel, praising the innovative design that celebrated the beauty in imperfection, and sales skyrocketed as musicians from all genres embraced the new technology, drawn by its authenticity and the powerful story behind its creation. Amara's role in this success story was recognized far beyond the company's walls, her journey from doubted newcomer to visionary leader becoming a beacon of inspiration in the business world and beyond, with media outlets highlighting her courage to face prejudice head-on and turn adversity into opportunity, her leadership serving as a compelling example of how diversity and inclusion can fuel innovation and success rather than hinder it, and conferences, panels, and leadership forums sought her out to share her story, eager to learn from the CEO who had rewritten the rules of both music and corporate culture. But beyond the accolades and financial triumphs, Amara found her greatest fulfillment in witnessing the cultural transformation within the company, the sense of pride and empowerment that now permeated the workplace, where employees felt valued for their unique perspectives and encouraged to take risks and challenge conventions. and where the lessons learned from that broken piano, the courage to face challenges directly, the creativity to find new solutions, and the resilience to persist despite doubt, became guiding principles that shaped every decision and every project. The broken piano that had once been wielded as a weapon of humiliation had become the enduring symbol of a leader who refused to be defined by limitations imposed by others, a leader who turned mockery into triumph and skepticism into opportunity. And in doing so, Amara Williams cemented her legacy not just as a successful CEO, but as a transformative force in business and culture, proving that true leadership lies in the ability to inspire change, embrace imperfection, and lead with vision and integrity. And as the company continued to grow and innovate, Amara's story echoed as a powerful reminder that the greatest breakthroughs often arise from the willingness to face adversity with courage and creativity, a testament that would inspire generations to come to redefine what is possible when barriers are challenged and limits are shattered.